Peace. This is King Noble, Black Supremacy. And with this particular video, I want to speak on Nature Boy, melanation, and ultimately the difference between Zion and the Matrix. Because it's come to me, what Nature Boy has established is really Zion. It's a place where people can come and get more natural and get more in tune with nature. Let's call it Zion. He's got away from what we're calling Babylon, or the simulated or artificial program that we call the Matrix. That's basically the corporations. Let's call it the United States of America. He stepped out of that corporation and went into nature and went to the jungles of Costa Rica. So he's not moving within the simulated artificial construct that is being maintained by the corporate infrastructure of white supremacy. Let's call where he's at New Zion. Now, so what's the difference? And I think this is very important. Because while the Matrix exists as the simulated program maintained by the corporations, the businesses, the concrete jungle, the cities, their infrastructures, the Matrix also lives in the convictions of the individuals who believe in the ideas, the principles, the perceptual framework, those who have aspirations or desires that's consistent with that simulated and virtual program. It's also represented and reflected in the limitations of the consciousness and the minds of the individuals who have interfaced with the Matrix. So when some people even step outside of the virtual program, they step outside of the corporate illusion, and they end up in a Nebuchadnezzar or in Zion, they still bring the Matrix with them. Because they still have the desires of the Matrix. They still believe in Disney World. They still romanticize about the Matrix, its music, its culture, the sentimentalism. They're still attached to the Matrix very deeply, even though they've stepped outside of the simulated and artificial program. And they bring those Matrix ideas and concepts into the Nebuchadnezzar, and they bring them into Zion. And agents can get into New Zion. Agents can get into the Nebuchadnezzar. And the way they get into it is based on where the hearts and minds and souls of those individuals are. That if they're still connected to the Matrix, its belief, its ideas, its culture, its religions, its morals, if they're still connected to it, they become a gateway to allow the agents of the Matrix in to New Zion. And on the ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, they allow them to get on. And they also can be taken over by agents, even though they're outside of the simulated program. Let's keep this in mind. So the Matrix is not just the corporations and McDonald's and the cities and the municipal governments. The Matrix is something that exists inside the individual. It's playing in the individual. The individual is perpetuating that illusion within their own consciousness as their reality, that they must go beyond. So simply leaving the United States does not take you out of the Matrix. while it may take you out of the artificial reality that is generated by the matrix. That artificial reality is the sum total of all the desires and the pleasures of those who entertain the matrix. It's a consensus reality of those who have a matrix perceptual framework or thought construct. So a lot of people think they left the matrix, but did the matrix leave inside of them? That's the question. Because just because you take a man out of the matrix, or you take a woman out of the matrix, doesn't mean you took the matrix out of the woman or out of the man or the agent. So when you start thinking that nature in and of itself, getting closer to nature or some natural utopia is getting out of the matrix, that's another program. Because in order to get out of the matrix, you have to get the matrix out of you. You have to detach yourself from all those ideas and those beliefs and those constructs that cause pain and suffering, fear, lack, doubt, and limitation. You have to get that out of yourself. You have to cleanse your consciousness and become a new being. You have to become a neophyte. And you have to become a student of the universe. And you really have to become open and open up your consciousness. Because more in you is going to die. There's no place for the type of ego that is created by the matrix to live once you get out of it. So the matrix is in the person. It's in you. It's your thinking, your conception, the parameters of your thinking, the circumference of your thoughts is the matrix. And the simulated reality, the artificial reality created by the corporation, cater to those limitations in the individual. But once you go beyond it, you start to see that you have no limits. And you go beyond fear. And all the narratives that create fear and victim consciousness. You let go of all of them. You can't take none of them with you. So the matrix can no longer play on you. There you have truly become free. You have to free your mind. You think you left this country? Free your mind. Free your mind. Very important. Now it's easier to free yourself once you come into New Zion. Once you step outside of the artificial reality that's being perpetuated and maintained by the corporations, it's easier to free yourself because now you can see the matrix completely within you and you can deal with it unobstructed. You can confront the matrix head on. Because the matrix is your reflection too. Yes, sir. When you look at the matrix, you can say peace reflection. Because the matrix is your reflection too, that you have to deal with, that you must confront. The matrix within one's own self. When you confront that, then you don't have nothing. You've dealing with that's the ultimate enemy. That's the ultimate challenge. That's the ultimate evaluation. The ultimate analysis. The true point of self-realization. When you confront the matrix within yourself, which is the only place that its existence is relevant. Once you remove it there, you can even then go back into the simulated reality. And then you can start even going beyond the laws within the simulated reality. You can start going beyond limitations that were only made up in your own mind. Because now your mind has transcended. Now your consciousness has expanded. So you no longer have those limitations. So now you can even go into the artificial matrix and begin to bend the rules and shape reality and defy the laws and the regulations and the scripts of the program. You yourself can become a script writer and hack the code. But that's when you're really out of the matrix. So you can be out of the matrix and still go into the artificial reality and conquer. Just as though you can come out of the artificial reality and you can bring the matrix into natural reality. And when you go into nature and you still have all the problems and all the issues and the dialogues and the thoughts and the dramas of those people in the matrix, it's probably because you took the matrix with you into nature, that you did not have a proper diagnosis to address the matrix within yourself. You thought you had escaped an artificial reality, and that artificial reality was only a reflection of yourself. It was a projection of your own beliefs and ideas that have been ingrained in you at a very early age. And that the matrix needs believers to continue to exist, because those believers will follow the false laws and hold up the construct of the false paradigm. When people stop believing in the matrix, it will no longer exist. When they stop giving their energy to those imposed limitations, then it would have to change. It would have to be transformed out of existence. We have to confront the matrix within, no matter where we are at. And when you transcend the matrix within, the matrix without begins to dissipate and disintegrate. And you're left with nothing but a free and liberated, infinitely expanding consciousness and infinite potential manifesting. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. Join my website, www.kingnobleuncensored.com. Donate and don't hate.